Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. It's been quite a while since I did a vlog, like recording in front of the camera. The past few vlogs that I've done have been, how should I put this, videotaping the computer. So tonight's topic is going to be regarding the second time I ever went to Busch Gardens, which was in high school. It was an end of the school year kind of party or trip, and it was just before the end of the school year. Just for the fun of it, guys, tonight I would like to go ahead and finish off my ninth grade year. So I'm gonna do two different vlogs. The second one is going to be about my high school uh, end of the year party. So whatever big announcements I was going to make, I'm actually going to make in that one because of the fact that this one's going to take a little longer versus that one is a lot shorter. So there's actually a lot more for me to discuss in that one. As far as like anything that does not have to do all that, then I'm going to go ahead and just let you guys know that I'm going to go ahead and just get right into both topics right away, both of them, and then I'm going to go. And at the end of the second one, stay tuned if you want to hear any of the big announcements I want to make. So, all right, let's get into it. So, when I was still in ninth grade, like finishing up the ninth grade year over at Oasis Christian Academy, I got invited to, well, actually, I got a form for a high school trip to Busch Gardens. I was like, that is so cool. I literally have not been since I was like 2 years old. So it was like 1995, and it's been, so it was like, had been 14 years, give or take. I'm just going to go with that. So I had to, of course, bring the form home to my parents for them to sign. Of course, my parents are like, yeah, of course. And I think we had to pay something. Of course, I didn't have a job back then, so I think my parents had to pay for it. And as soon as I got the money and the form filled out, I brought it back to the school, got that taken care of. That was just a matter of waiting for the day. So I don't remember the exact date. I know it was in May, and I also know it was on a Friday. So on that, finally the day arrived. So they had us like split up into different groups. There was a lot of us that went. I think the whole high school went, if I remember correctly. So I went with this friend of mine. His name is Brandon Jenkins, and his dad was willing to drive us all the way out there. So we drove all the way out to Tampa, Florida, where Busch Gardens is at, and we spent the entire day out there. And the funny thing is, I had been spoiled my whole life going to Disney World. So, being the autistic person that I was, I kept comparing Busch Gardens to Disney all day, and all I cannot, I cannot. How should I put this? I cannot say this enough. I have had that problem for a very long time. I even was doing that when I first moved here to Kentucky. I was comparing Kings Island to Disney. But I finally learned shortly after I moved here, about a year or two later, actually about a year later, to just start appreciating what I had for what it was worth. And I had the same problem when I even went to the Cincinnati Zoo. This is not Disney. But you know what? Last year, when I went to, or when I got to enjoy everything again, as the pandemic is basically starting to come to an end, even though they say otherwise, but we're not going to get into that. I started to appreciate things for what they were worth. I actually will use, or well, let's just use Christmas time last year for an example, other than what happened at work, which I'm not going to get into that. I really loved Christmas last year in the sense that I had so much to look forward to. I made a trip out to Burlington at one point. I went and saw the Christmas lights out there, which I thought was really cool. I don't exactly remember when I did everything. I'm just gonna go with that. And you know what? I had never seen it before, and I actually really liked it. I found it unique, and I'm really glad that I did that. I also made a trip out to Coney Island, and I got to see their Christmas lights again. Well, actually, I got to see their Christmas lights. I'd never done that before either, and I really enjoy that too. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I really enjoy this, and I went back to the Cincinnati Zoo. That was by far one of the. Actually, that was the very first thing I did, and I really appreciate it a lot more this time. I was like, you know what? This may not be Disney, but I really enjoy it. And it's something I look forward to every year now. And then when I went to the Creation Museum, I really appreciated doing that. And then I went to Kings Island afterwards. I honestly appreciated Winterfest a lot more last year than I did 2 years ago. I really did. I feel like my appreciation for what I have has come a long ways. I would even tell you that my love for Kings Island has incredibly exceeded since 3 years ago. 3 years ago, when I first went to Kings Island, I was like, this isn't Disney. But now I'm like, you know what? It may not be Disney, but I love it. It's original, it's unique, it's different, and I like it. And that was something I had the hardest time dealing with, especially as a teenager. And now, I would tell you, when I go to Busch Gardens, I appreciate it for what it is. I appreciate the fact that it's unique, it's different. I love the roller coasters. It may not be Disney, but it's still a good time. And I feel the same exact way about SeaWorld. It may not be Disney, but I love it for what it is. It's something that I've really just got to keep reminding myself. And I had the hardest time with that in high school, but as I've gotten older, I have come a long ways. But as far as when I was a teenager, my word, I just could not get over it. It's like Disney doesn't, or like, let's just use Animal Camp for example, which is the closest thing to Busch Gardens. I kept comparing Rhino Rally to Kilimanjaro Safari. Kilimanjaro Safari is like this, Kilimanjaro Safari is like that. I could tell that Mr. Jenkins was trying so hard to be patient with me. He probably was thinking, oh dear, how did I get stuck with the autistic kid? I mean, who knows what he was thinking, but I felt like that particular trip, I was just so upset. I was too busy looking at Busch Gardens from a wrong perspective. I'm not even lying. I went 3 years later and I loved it. I appreciate it for what it was worth. I realize it may not be Disney, but I loved it. I got so much more out of Busch Gardens 3 years later than I did back in 2009. In 2009, I was constantly criticizing. I was constantly saying, it needs to be more like Disney. It needs to be more like Disney. I almost wonder if they had said to me at one point, dude, it sounds like you need to go to Disney today. And I probably would have said, oh, I would love that. I can have my dad get me in right now. And I kind of was like that up to a point later on in high school, but not like I was in 2009. Like 2009, I wasn't really receiving God's word all that strongly in high school. Like, we did a Bible class, but they always like to say everybody's brains are wired differently. Well, I only believe that in the sense that everybody learns differently, everybody receives God's word differently, in the sense that, do I believe that everybody's wired differently is, and some people are born with male parts, some people are born with female parts, some people are born with both parts. Not only do I not believe that, that's bogus. And I'm not going to go any further than that because I don't want to cause any controversy. But I will say this, that my brain just was not comprehending anything that I was learning about God all that much. in ninth grade. I felt like I needed somebody that could get through to me a little bit more. Somebody who wanted to get more on a personal level of me. I'm not saying that the guy I had didn't care, but I felt like I just needed a stronger connection. I felt like I just wasn't necessarily getting the right connection. I felt like I wasn't necessarily with the right people yet. I've heard that one before. Sometimes God just doesn't have you in the right place yet. Like, when I was first working at Meyer, I loved who I was working with up to a point. I loved what I did up to a point, but I wasn't receiving the same connection there that I am at the Ark Encounter. And I absolutely love everybody who I work with. Like, the connection I have there is 100 times stronger. The friendships are so much better. And I finally get to talk to people who 100% genuinely care about me. Even if I may not always like who I am, it feels so nice to have people who genuinely care about me, such as Tristan, Caitlin, and others, and Brian Brown, who used to work at the Ark Encounter, who went to Kings Island with me. He's someone else who genuinely cares about me, and he's subscribed to this YouTube channel, and I know Tristan is too. Whether Caitlin is or not is beyond me, but that's her choice, and I'm not going to judge her for it. But anyhow, I will also like to add on the fact that when I was also in ninth grade, I didn't necessarily have the right teachers who knew how to work with me yet. So, you know what? Sometimes our parents think they know what's best for us. I think that's going to be the moral of these last two episodes. And it's easy for parents, especially when your kid is young, to always think you know what's best for your kid. But when your kid gets old enough, sometimes you need to listen to them, even if they have autism and you think that they're mentally retarded. Try listening to your kid. If your kid says, like, for example, I said that I felt like Candlelight was a better school for me. Maybe try that school first and see how that school goes. Even if you don't personally feel like that's the best thing, maybe your kid's right. And I kind of am feeling the same with TJ right now. I personally don't feel like this girl he is with right now is necessarily the best person for her. If that anything, I feel like she's the worst person for him. But I also told him tonight that is just my personal opinion, and my opinion doesn't matter anyway. And I said that you and her are both adults, and you need to make your own decisions. So I finally did tell him exactly how I felt, but I also told him that at this point, I'm going to respect your decision regardless, even if I don't like it. And that's kind of what I went with. I mean, whether he chooses to respond to me or not is up to him. I don't expect a response out of him, but that's okay. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this vlog and go right into one more vlog. And that one I'm going to end with talking about how the school year ended and kind of how it felt for me to leave, and what led me to finally go over to Candlelight. And then I'll go over all the announcements I have for my YouTube channel. So, until then, I will see you guys in about 30 seconds. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.